All right, one more quick one. This one on adding fonts when you don't quite have permission to add fonts. If you're working on our VLabs or remoting into a lab computer, or maybe even if you're working on a computer at your workplace, you may not necessarily have permission to add fonts. And even if you do, or if it looks like you do, ArcGIS Pro uses fonts in a slightly different way than Microsoft Office. So for example, on our lab computers, we discovered that students were allowed to add fonts to the computer and you could use them in Microsoft Office, but you couldn't get to them in Pro. So we've got a little hack to work around if you want a fancy title font, and here it is. It seems remarkably silly, but it's actually works pretty well. So you're going to start in PowerPoint of all things, and I usually just choose the blank white presentation, and then I go ahead and go to layout and I go with totally blank so I have no distractions here. Then I'm going to grab a text box. I'm going to type in my title, whatever it is that I am doing, in this case for the Minnesota map. And then I'm going to pick my font. So I've installed my fonts on my computer, and I can get to them in Microsoft Office, but I can't get to them in ArcGIS Pro. So I can come down here and I can pick, let's pick something really fun and scripty. This is the hard part when you're making maps, right? You spend 20 minutes picking out fonts. It's crazy. Here we'll go. We'll do a little Lord of the Rings tribute, right? So I'll do this, and then I'm going to go ahead and set my font nice and large. This will give me more flexibility in Arc Pro to actually work with the title. If I make it too small and stretch it, it's going to look pixelated. So I want to make it nice and big. I can always squish it down, but I want to make it nice and big. So I could do this. If I was doing a map in color, then I would also go ahead and set colors on this. Whatever it is that you want to do to make your title font look fancy. Then you're going to right click on it, and you're going to go to, you have to right click on the border to get this to actually work. You're going to go to save as picture, right? And then you'll put this in, put it in your picture folder, whatever you want to call it. I usually actually put it in my project folder. So if I go into my you can all watch me fumble around through my projects right here. There we go, Minnesota Type Pro, and I will do, and you want to leave it as a PNG or set it as a GIF. So GIF works and a PNG works. That way you'll get a nice transparent background. Anything else, you're going to get a white background. So just leave it on a PNG. That's usually the default, and that'll work really well for you. And then you hit save. And then I'm going to come back to my map, and let me go to layout view. And here we are. I've got a slightly cleaned up version that I've been working on. It looks a little better than the last one that you saw, but I'm going to go to my layout view, and I'm going to add in my map like so, make it nice and big. I would use guides as I recommended in one of the earlier labs. Go ahead and set up page guides to get everything nice and set. Right, and then you can fuss or navigate and do all the other things that you want to do here. I'm just going to do a really quick, where's my Minnesota border? Here we go. I'll just quickly zoom to Minnesota, and that'll approximate my map layout so I can see where my title's going to go. Then I'm going to go to the insert menu, and I'm going to go get a picture from the graphics section here. So insert picture, and then we'll go to my Minnesota sample. I will grab my Minnesota title, and then I can just drag a box here and it will drop it right in there. So this is a nice little workaround if you don't have the ability to put fonts in your computer in a way that you can get to them in Pro. If it's your computer and it's your installation, you should be fine and you can ignore all of this. But if you're working on the lab computers or the VLab, you'll probably have to do this. And like I said, if you're working on a work computer, you may be restricted as well. So just a quick little workaround for fun title fonts. And this works for other sorts of graphics as well. But of course, this particular project doesn't have room for a lot of map debris. But we'll play around with that in a later exercise. Happy mapping!